The Architecture of Love, Chapter 1: Why Relationships Die Before They Start. This piece wasn't written to soothe, to flatter, or to sell comfort. It was written to name the fracture at the center of how men and women connect and fail to connect. Layer by layer, it walks through the ache no one has ever put words to clearly before: the pulling back, the silence, the withheld truth, the misread signals, and the echo of what wasn't chosen in time. These aren't theories. These are lived dynamics, repeated by millions, unseen by most, and almost never spoken of plainly. If this piece triggers you, it's not because it's harsh, it's because it's true. And truth, when it's been buried long enough, doesn't surface quietly. It ruptures. If you keep reading, you'll see yourself here. Our culture rewards withdrawal and penalizes vulnerability. Over time, this trains both sides to protect themselves instead of choosing connection. For a genuine bond to form, both parties must risk vulnerability in unison, deliberately choosing exposure without reservation. They lay their shadows bare, naming the ache that's kept them guarded, not one testing and one retreating, but two hearts colliding clean. There is a tension no one wants to talk about. A quiet, aching gap where women pull back and men fall silent. No one means to cause it. No one knows how to stop it. And still, it plays out in thousands of ways every single day. Everyone says they want to feel safe, but safety isn't the same as freedom. Most people say they want to be seen, but what they actually want is to be admired at a distance, on their terms, with no real risk of exposure. For women, the language of safety sits at the center, and it's real. Many women don't feel safe because of trauma, history, culture, and lived experience. The world has given them reason to hesitate. But what almost no one admits is this: for many women, the fear of being truly seen is greater than the fear of being harmed. Because being seen means surrendering control of the narrative. It means standing exposed, no performance, no leverage, and saying, "This is me." And if they don't want you after that, there's no shield left. Not just from men, but from closeness itself. Men don't usually talk about safety. They talk about being understood, so they shut it down. And later, women say they feel alone. But the man is thinking, why would I open up? You're just going to pull back once I stop being useful. So both people hide. Both want connection. Both fear what happens when the mask drops. The illusion is that if enough safety is created, closeness will naturally follow. It doesn't, because most people aren't afraid of danger. They're afraid of being chosen, fully seen, and still not enough. Before there is a relationship, there is an uneven moment. In the early stages of nearly every heterosexual connection, the woman holds the power of yes. She chooses whether to engage, respond, or continue. This isn't accusation or complaint. It's structural reality. Her nervous system is the gatekeeper of the first bond. She may not feel safe, but she knows she can say no. The man, meanwhile, is taught that he must reach, initiate, impress, and stabilize. He risks rejection first. His worth begins forming around whether she responds. Even when she doesn't respond or doesn't know how, the authority remains. This matters because it creates the blueprint. The man learns that closeness is earned. The woman learns that closeness must be assessed, weighed, and often feared. She's seen what happens when women trust too fast. So even when she wants love, her system braces. And the man, if he's honest, begins shaping himself not around who he is, but around who he thinks she'll say yes to. It's subtle, mostly unspoken, but it sets the tone. She fears being unsafe. He fears being unseen. And unless that early imbalance is named and recalibrated, the relationship starts crooked, even if it looks fine from the outside. There's a moment early on when the woman realizes she's being seen. Not flirted with, not entertained, seen. And when that happens, her nervous system often panics. Because being seen means the armor stops working. The excuses don't land. The old protections built over years of being misunderstood, grabbed at, or reduced start to crack. And she faces a choice: step toward what her soul may want, or retreat into distance. Most women don't feel safe when truly witnessed. They want devotion, but not always exposure. Because exposure means surrender, and surrender for someone who's been hurt feels dangerous. So she rations herself, her affection, her time, her truth. She moves closer, then pulls back. She blames timing, trauma, uncertainty, but underneath it all is a single terror. What if I'm seen and still not chosen? When the man senses her hesitation, he flinches. Not because he doesn't care, but because he does. He's learned that reaching too hard scares her away, that showing need makes him weak, that waiting looks strong, so he holds back. He stays steady, but withholds his deepest truth. He pretends ambiguity doesn't hurt. He smiles through the ache. And when she pulls away, even slightly, he tells himself not to feel it. Now both are rationing, not from indifference, but from fear. Neither wants to go first, and what began in resonance starts dying in silence. Before love, there is a decision, not spoken, felt. Will I let this person matter to me? This is the real threshold. And if both people don't cross it at the same time, distortion begins. She keeps the door cracked, not open. He stays available, not chosen. He shrinks to survive ambiguity. She hesitates to protect herself. And a pattern forms. Not because either is wrong, but because they didn't step together. A relationship doesn't begin when someone says yes. It begins when both people risk being real simultaneously. Miss that moment, and the echo will follow. She remembers being reached for when she wasn't ready. Her body learned closeness equals pressure. He remembers offering presence and receiving silence. His body learned reaching equals loss of dignity. Now they aren't reacting to each other. They're reacting to the echo. And unless it's named, the past runs the present. You don't silence the echo. You say, I know what this is, and I'm still here. That's how the ghost leaves. She protects against being overtaken. He protects against disappearing. And unless both wounds are honored, the dance repeats. It's one thing to reach the threshold. It's another to stay once the fire starts. Once the nervous systems settle, once the connection begins, that's when the real test begins. Not in the highs, not in the wild resonance or long talks at 2 a.m, but in the ordinary moments when you're tired, triggered, or tempted to vanish. Real relationship isn't built on resonance alone. It's built on what you do when the resonance fades. Every person brings old patterns into love. The avoidant flinches when it gets too close. The anxious freezes when the signal fades. The disorganized burns for intensity and safety at the same time. Even the secure stumble when the ghosts return. The question isn't whether it gets hard. The question is this. When your partner's wound shows up, will yours answer it or anchor it? When she pulls away, does he punish or steady? When he shuts down, does she withdraw or lean in? Not to fix, not to rescue, but to stay inside the fire without making it worse. Safety doesn't mean avoiding triggers. It means naming them when they show up without shame or spin, without using each other's pain as proof that it's all falling apart. It means saying, I know this moment. I've lived it before, but I'm not leaving this time, and I won't make you leave either. It means letting truth rise even when it shakes your voice. It means remembering that your nervous systems are not enemies. They are instruments, learning how to stay in tune. When one person in a relational field becomes deeply steady, emotionally regulated, non-reactive, patient, and non-demanding, the system does not naturally move toward balance. What often happens instead is erasure. The steady person stops being perceived as someone with needs. Their consistency becomes assumed. Their restraint is mistaken for absence of desire. Their lack of pressure is read not as strength, but as permanence. Because they do not chase, others do not feel required to respond. Because they do not collapse, others do not feel urgency. Because they do not punish, others do not feel accountability. Steadiness does not automatically invite reciprocity. Very often, it invites passivity. People unconsciously adapt to the regulated person as if that steadiness is part of the environment, something that exists regardless of how they show up. Over time, the steady person becomes the one who holds the field while others move freely within it. This is not intimacy. It is asymmetry. If the person were volatile or reactive, they would provoke engagement. But because they are steady, the system settles into complacency. This is how regulation, when unmatched, turns into invisibility. I know this because I lived it. Before the bond, there must be honor for the other's nervous system. You don't reach past someone's boundaries and call it bravery. You don't withhold yourself out of fear and call it discernment. You show up in truth and pay attention to theirs. Honor for pace. If she's slower, he doesn't shove. If he's hesitant, she doesn't test. You don't force alignment. You feel for the moment it begins to hum, and when it does, you step in fully together. Honor for clarity. No games, no breadcrumbs. You don't speak in riddles to keep power. You speak in truth to give it back. Honor for dignity. If you know someone is open, you don't manipulate that. If you know they're hesitant, you don't punish them for needing time. A relationship born in anything less than this will require control to survive. And once control enters, love shrinks. But if it's born in honor, real grounded, non performative honor, what grows can actually last.